Good evening and welcome to UP News. I'm your host, Wade Norris. Tonight we're going to be talking with Representative Buffie McFadyen from the Southern District of Colorado, which houses the supermax prison. She's worked tirelessly to work for prison guard rights and their working wages and their working hours and staffing them appropriately. And after all, don't they deserve that? They are guarding some of the most dangerous prisoners in our country, including Zacchaeus Moussaoui, the Unabomber, Eric Rudolph, and others of ill repute. But before we go to that, I just wanted to thank everyone for their support and their comments on our website. You can access that website at www.ultimatepolitics.net. We look forward to hearing from you. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Thanks. Good evening and welcome to UP News. I'm your host, Wade Norris. Tonight we're with Representative Buffie McFadyen from House District 47 down in Pueblo and Fremont counties. Welcome to the show, Buffie.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Pueblo.
Yeah, it was a nice trip. Tonight we're talking about prisons, privatization of prisons, and the impact it has on our local government, state government, and of course our country. Representative McFadyen, Buffie, what can you tell me about your work with the prison industry? You have a large prison concentration in your district. Tell us some of the issues that we face with that.
My district is in Pueblo and Fremont counties in Colorado, and what makes my district very special is I have 8 state and 4 federal penitentiaries. I have more prisons in my state house district than I think anywhere else in the United States of any state house or assembly district. I have the most maximum facility in the United States as far as prisons, supermax or the administrative maximum, the ADX. And I have constituents ranging from people like Moussaoui, Richard Reed, Terry Nichols, Kaczynski, all very familiar names.
Yeah.
All in my facility. If you're an adjudicated terrorist, odds are you're my constituent. Also, and people wonder why I call them constituents, they're actually counted on the census. They do live in my district, and I believe the federal government should count them on the census because inmates in communities do have impacts in those communities that need to have representation. I have 8 state facilities. I have the most maximum security state facility and several other state facilities for a total of 12, and I'm going to 13 prisons by 2009. In the United States, we've seen exponential growth in our prison industry, and Colorado is no different. I have some numbers with me. Since 1992 to 2004, we've seen a 7% growth in our prisons in Colorado. And during the same time frame, the national growth has been about 4%. Yet, in all that time, and an issue that's dear to your heart and to a lot of other progressive people who believe in helping other people, that we do better when everyone does well rather than a few, that we're 49th in treatment, in funding of treatment in Colorado, which I think adds to the pressure of the prison system when we don't treat people for drug and alcohol addiction. Colorado today has a total of 22,469 inmates just in the prison system. That's not counting those that are on parole. We have 20,137 men, 2,332 females. Since 10 years ago, 1996, we have doubled our prison population in Colorado.
Is that because there's just more crime in Colorado, or has things changed in terms of practices of prisons? Or
it's an interesting dynamic. Mandatory sentencing definitely has had an impact on prison populations.
When did mandatory sentencing start becoming kind of the norm, the kind of in vogue type of lawmaking?
I think it was a reaction that somehow we've been too soft on crime. So if we go to mandatory sentencing, darn it, we're being tough on crime and we're doing what's right. Often what happens when we have that mentality is we forget what happens after those people are incarcerated. And it's an out of sight, out of mind issue. When you come to Pueblo or Fremont counties, prisons are in our community. We see them. We don't forget about them. That's regular dinner conversation of what's happening at the prisons. In Fremont County alone, it's the largest employer, the state of Colorado, through the Department of Corrections. So basically everyone in Fremont County knows someone or is someone who works in the state prison facility. So it's normal conversation. But when you go to the metro areas, Colorado Springs and the Denver metro area, where most of these inmates come from, there's an obvious connection between the highest populated counties and how many people go to prison, it's not normal conversation.
Right.
And that's what needs to change in this state and also in this country. We have seen the introduction of a for-profit incentive in the prison industry.
And that's something that I know you really are very adamant about. Tell me about what happened with the private prison that came to your district and wanted to set up shop here and start a brand new private prison facility.
I'll do that, and I'll go back one step for people who don't know anything about private prisons.
Okay.
We have several national corporations. We have Community Corrections Corporation, which is short for CCA, out of Tennessee.
Okay.
We also have one of the premier institutions, what is formerly Wackenhut,
right,
which is now the GEO Group, group. And I'll say it for the record, and there isn't a single CEO of a for-profit prison corporation in the United States that doesn't know this about me. I have no use whatsoever for the private prison industry because they've given an incentive to incarcerate. Stockholders make dividends off a body in a cell. It goes against everything we should be doing in government. In government, we should be...
Darn.
Am I doing all right, Pam? Good. In government, we should be, I as a legislator should be doing everything I can to either maintain or reduce prison populations. A for-profit corporation has every incentive to keep seeing those populations increase, to keep making money at the taxpayer's expense, to keep making money. I think it's immoral.
Well, in terms of just the immoral issue, I am totally there with you because I've seen when working with youth corrections as a therapist, the statistic I heard was 87% of our adult male prisoners spent time in juvenile lockup.
Or in a juvie facility.
Exactly, a juvie facility. So if you put someone in juvie as a teenager, chances are an 87% chance out of 100 they're going to be an adult person. They're institutionalized. So it's immoral on that purpose. But
so basically, it's like taking the SAT. You take the pre-SAT and the SAT.
It's a warm-up.
It's a warm-up. We're warming up. It's junior varsity. We're going to make sure we have the varsity squad. That's what private prison industry thrives on that. 60% of children who have a parent in prison in this country end up in prison. They know they have a captive audience for their profit. And they somehow convince lawmakers and the federal government that they can do it better and cheaper. They can't. They cost money at every turn. They get the best inmates. When that inmate becomes a problem, behavior-wise, it goes back to the public system. If the inmate gets sick and has to receive services, medical care outside of the facility, they go back to the state prison system.
Right.
Anytime an inmate starts to cost money, they come back to the state system. And that's why they can say they're cheaper, because they get the cheapest, most well-behaved inmates in the first place.
And then the ones that make it an issue or a problem, they put
go
back to the state.
They go back.
Well, talk about the agreement that GEO.
Oh, exactly. In Pueblo, Colorado, GEO Group, formerly Wackenhut, came to Pueblo to want to do a pre-release parole revocation center in Pueblo. They first came in and they were going to do a dorm-style building,
right,
which is what would be a pre-release parole revocation center. I don't have as great a problem with those facilities if they're really doing treatment and programming to prepare inmates to succeed on the outside, deinstitutionalize them.
Right.
Per se, and get them the skills to make it. Then they went to a pod design, and I looked at that, and I really questioned my own city of Pueblo and said, don't you realize they're building a medium security prison? That's not a dorm. And I think they would have tried to change the contract. But what was more despicable on behalf of this company, GEO Group out of Florida, they wanted the state to guarantee 90% of the beds would be filled, and if those beds weren't filled, they would still get paid for 90%. And I asked the question of where's the free market in that? There is no free market in that. They want to be paid even if they're not doing the work.